Hello everyone and welcome back. So I've been looking at Bitcoin for quite some time now, and the last week was a fascinating week. It really was, because the last few weeks really it's just been pushing higher and higher. So we've had this massive run, and it's the first week here where we've had some form of a bearish sort of indication. So I just wanted to put this out there. Long term, definitely bullish, absolutely. But in terms of price action and technical patterns, we have obviously made a new high. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But more importantly than that, you see, if you fib the very early swing highs and swing lows, okay, we have a harmonic pattern nearing its completion, okay. And the reason why it's worth noticing this is because, look here, we had a B at 61.8, and a 61.8 is either going to be a Gartley, which would give you a D retraction point of 78.6, which it basically killed, right? It just walked through it in this bull candle here. So if that happens, then obviously a 61.8 can also give you a crab, okay, which gives you a price point D trajectory of 161. So this would look like this, basically. Here we are. So this seems to be a completed crab, just a regular crab, not a deep crab, because we've had a few deep crabs so far, but this is, I think, a first crab that we've seen in terms of harmonic patterns. Okay, so it's just an alert, just to be conscious that, look, we've completed a technical pattern. We could see some form of a reaction here, because we already know from harmonic patterns the D zone is known to be a reversal point here. Okay, so it's just be mindful to avoid any unnecessary sort of anxiety or heart attacks. Okay, so I just wanted to explain that. I mean, currently on the weekly we've closed above it, okay, but we've just pulled back within that zone. Okay, so it'll be interesting just to actually pin out the exact 161. Okay, so the 161 exactly would be, let's put in a horizontal beam. Here we are. Okay, so the 161 is 29.75. Okay, so we've already done 10%, 20% more than that, I think. Here we are. Yeah, 16%, 17%. So so let's see how this develops. Okay, so the 161 is at 29.75, and we've already shot well above it. So on the weekly time chart, we've so far pulled back in, and I just want to see how much, if this pulls back first of all, and the I suppose efficacy, if you want to call it efficacy, or the acid test of harmonic patterns, because obviously having diagrammatic representations in literature is one thing, but actually seeing them in real life is another. Okay, how much does this pull back? Does this pull back at all? We have seen various different pullbacks for harmonics. I think if I pull up Virgin Galactic, for example, we are currently within a harmonic pattern already. But I'm not going to cover this in this session, but I'm just highlighting the depth of the pullback here. For instance, in Virgin Galactic, we had almost 100% of the entire X to A. So if you measure X to A, right, we had that pullback. But at the same time, to compare this with the Tesla Elliott wave, we saw a very basic pullback. We just saw this pullback here, because we had this harmonic here, didn't we? We had this harmonic here, and that gave us almost 161. But if we measured this out properly, then this was, I think, just under 10%, or just over 10%. Sorry, 11%. Okay, so again, this is a learning channel, right? This is a research and learning channel. So I think it's interesting to note what pullbacks are by definition, and this was a 78.6. A 78.6 is a butterfly, and price went up to the 161 or near enough the 161, and it reacted 11%. Okay, so the notes to take from this would be that in this butterfly, in this iteration of the butterfly, we've had a 10% pullback. Okay, however, what was Virgin Galactic? Virgin Galactic's harmonic, just out of interest, was 0.50. So 0.50, and price went up to the 88.61. So 0.50 was 88.6. It was a bat. 88.6 over here. So we had a bat completing, giving a much sharper pullback, okay, in Virgin Galactic, whereas we had Tesla giving us a butterfly, 78.6, giving us just a... And it makes sense, really, doesn't it? If you look at this from a structural viewpoint, actually, if you notice how D is projected in the butterfly at 161, much higher, then you can see that this is really in a trending sort of, because you have high and a higher high, yeah. So obviously from a sort of price structural viewpoint, you can actually visualize this not giving you much more of a pullback, because this would pull back maybe down to the X level and then carry on. So that really does make sense. So the context of the bat is, again, look, we have an 88.6, so we make a lower high. So then you'll have a much deeper pullback. So actually that makes sense now, okay? So the crab, again, if you look at the crab in that context, then the D was a higher high. So this may not give a sort of sharper pullback, actually. This may just give a very minute explosive pullback, just like Tesla, and then it might just rally back on. Okay, but who knows? I mean, this is just observation as price is developing. Okay. So where are we right now? Yeah, here we are. So it'll be interesting to see what things develop here. So remember, these are very long-term time charts, okay? If we boil this down to the microscopic time charts on the 5 minutes, 15 minutes, let's have a look. I mean, if somebody was watching this, then I suppose you could just sort of put in a trend line and see what happens when price gets to this level. That could be one potential scenario. Let's see if there's anything cooking in these smaller time charts in terms of technical patterns. Let's measure this first of all. So we've had a 20% pullback. Okay, so that could be the pullback actually. But the 161 line was 29.81. Just out of curiosity, let's actually measure the pullback from there. The pullback from there was 6.9%, and in Tesla we had a 11% pullback. Okay, so I think from a structural viewpoint, this may not pull back that much. If we also notice, because I think it's just an observation here again. If we just enlarge this price structure, okay, this is the 2-hour time chart. Notice how the end, right, gave us a discrepancy, and a very beautiful discrepancy, because look here, we had price making a high and a higher high. Okay, I mean that's pretty obvious. So you had high and a higher high. Okay, but at the same time, look at what the stochastics did. The stochastics made a high and a lower high. Okay, so that is a regular divergence. Divergence. So again, I mean, if you're not familiar with these concepts, then just chuck in some terms in Google and just look at some schematic diagrams. So a regular divergence, or otherwise also known as a classic divergence, is basically where you have a reversal, basically, where price gives you one image and the stochastics gives you another. Compared that with a hidden divergence. A hidden divergence is trend continuation, basically. So you have a continuation within the trend. So basically, if we go back Let's actually measure this while we're here. So if you're new to the channel and if you find this sort of content useful, then please consider subscribing. It wouldn't cost you anything at all, and it would really help out the channel. Okay, so going back to the divergences, that was the first point at which you had the matching asymmetrical nature of price and your stochastic giving you your discrepancy, your divergence. So that would be boxed off as your entry 1 or D1. This was the lowest point. So you have D1, D2, and this here would be your D3. You could call it whatever you want to call it, basically. But the reason why D makes a lot more sense is because it's the divergent. You can then bring out your fibs and fib from D1 to D2. D1 to D2 would be here, but you can drag out your fibs towards the end of the screen. And you can see here that D3 was well within the 161 range. Okay, it's nice to be conscious of the 127 and 161 whenever you use the fibs. You then fib it in the opposite direction, so from D2 to D3, and again you're interested in the 127 and 161, and notice how price actually has already completed this divergence. So that was a nice sort of completed divergence, and now it's inching its way towards the top trend line. Let's see what it does, and if there is going to be any more pullback this week. If there isn't, then there isn't. It's as simple as that. Before I actually switch off, let me just check if there was any. So this is the daily time chart, okay? And I'm just trying to pick a point, because you see we've had this massive run from here, from the 7th of December. So let's pick out the 7th of December. Or the 10th of December, 12th of December here, this low point here. And just out of curiosity, I just want to see, the 11th of December. If we fibbed this in the opposite direction to the high point, then we've hit 38% and pulled back up. So again, another key level. I'll be interested in knowing what actually happens here. I mean, one potential outcome could be that this pulls back, and it's already done a 38%. So from a 38%, this could pull back up, give you a 1, 2, 3 in the process, and then pull back potentially, and then walk its way back up. Who knows? But I think for now, it'll be just a good sort of thing to be conscious of in the back of your mind. Okay, so I'm going to wrap things up now. That was Bitcoin. Oh yes, I did need to cover something else actually as well. Somebody asked me to look out for, I think it was QS or QC. Let me just find out. Okay, so it was QS. Oh yes, I did look at this, but I didn't post anything because I was I've kept this under observation as well. So let's have a look at this for a second. So on the monthly, it's been quite bullish, and we've gapped below today quite aggressively. What was the gap drop? Oh wow, 40% today. That was interesting. So I think realistically that this second trend line could be retested potentially. When I had done my preliminary homework on this, on the long-term time charts, I was thinking potentially an Elliott wave. So it all depends on how much this pulls back and what happens in that scenario. So for now, I think it's just a watch and wait scenario, because here we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we've had this gap down. So this could be a retest of the trend line and potentially retest the second trend line. So $29 is the point, roughly $29 or just under $30 potentially. That's the trend line. Okay. Interestingly, also, if we put aside Elliott waves and just threw in a fib from the previous low to the high at $131, where are we? Oh yeah, look at that. 78% is 37.58. So I'm not suggesting that this will go up to this point. This could even go to the $25 mark, 88%. But I think I'll actually just leave this fib here. So that's all that I have for actually. Let's have a look at this on the smaller time chart very quickly. So on the 30 minutes, 15 minutes, you see this gap here was quite aggressive. Yeah, 30%. Let's look at the 5 minute. Yeah, there's no directional suggestion from price and stochastics in terms of divergence, and I think realistically this could just be either a retest of this trend line, if that happens. But I think at the moment it's quite bearish. I would really want this move to complete. On the 2-hour time chart, I wonder if this could be classed as a 1, 2, 3. So going back on the 4-hour, 1, 2, 3, or we could say 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I'm thinking Elliott waves in the back of my mind, but I don't want to draw anything out. So far we've had a 5 run up, 5. This could be a 1, 2, 3. But we've broken this trend line as well, so potentially this could go a bit lower. Let's actually see these trend lines if they were drawn accurately. Okay, so the data points were these two data points here from the 25th of November. From the 25th of November to the 2nd of December. 2nd of December, okay. So let's draw this out fresh again, just to get an accurate drawing. So from the 25th of November to 2nd of December. Yeah. Okay. It's always I think it's a good habit to redraw trend lines, because sometimes the data does sometimes change a little bit from a sort of long-term structural viewpoint. Let's have a look at the I think there's nothing more to add for QS. While we're here, I'll actually just add this. Let me also look at so Virgin Galactic. I think Virgin Galactic. I did a recording for Virgin Galactic. I'll cover this again, but I think there's a lot of detail that needs to be discussed that's going on here. So I think I'll just wrap things up for Bitcoin. It'll be interesting to just see how this develops over the next sort of coming weeks. Okay. Sorry for waffling. Let me know if this content was useful in the comments section below, please. And if I missed any detail out, then again, please let me know. Okay, guys. Thanks for watching. Look after yourselves, and I shall see you all in the next recording.